Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back. I'm Danny Flores with OC Power Players, and today we have Diane Lewis, who's a founder, CEO of Firefly Tutors. She concentrates on tutoring children from preschool all the way through college. The purpose of that is to help these children be successful in their education. She also wrote the book, Education Warrior. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you, Danny. It's a pleasure to meet you and be on your amazing podcast.
Thank you. Happy to have you on board. Give us a little bit of a snapshot of your tutoring business and how you got started doing that.
Certainly. Well, my background from education myself, going to university, I have a degree in teaching and my credential from kindergarten through 8th grade. Mm-hmm. But it only lasted 3 years in the public school. It just wasn't for me. I felt like I was in handcuffs because I saw how differently every child needed to learn. And yet, I had a very traditional principal who told me, don't teach that way, just teach the same way to each student in your class. And I just couldn't seem to get through in that regards, because I'm a really creative, kind of innovative thinker, and I couldn't be myself. And so I left education and I started a health and beauty business just on the fly, honestly. And I started making more money than I would have if I stayed in education. And I really enjoyed it a lot. And during that time, I had also gotten married. I'd been married a long time. And after a 25-year marriage dissolved, I needed to earn more money. I just knew I needed to do something. So I thought about my skills and what I could do, and I just started tutoring. And how I did that was I called every person I knew who had children, and I told them what I was doing. And I started with one student. And from there, within the year, I had 21 students. And it was a really rough year for me emotionally and psychologically, just getting back on my feet as a single person, trying to figure out what direction to go in. But those children that I tutored, honestly, they put so much love in my heart, and I started to laugh again and just really enjoy life. And somehow I knew that was going to be my direction. I didn't know how I was going to scale it or anything like that at that point, but I just knew tutoring was my answer.
Wow. So you went from one student to 20 students. I'm almost afraid of asking, how many do you have now? I mean, because you've scaled so big, and how did you get that? And how did these ideas come to you?
Yeah, it's been a process. I've been in business 20 years now. And so it wasn't an overnight success or a big snowball. It was gradual. And it took me 6 years before I hired my first tutor, because I started reading a lot about business and understanding how to scale. And I realized that I either had to use other people's time or other people's money to scale. Well, I didn't really want to take out loans or anything like that. I just thought, okay, if I hire a good tutor, I can double my business, getting them the gigs. I was handling all the leads, but I could assign it to another tutor, and I doubled my business. Then I tripled. Wow. It just kept growing from there. And then over time, I needed more management to help me handle everything. And I started realizing one of the big keys for me was following or really identifying what students get government funding. And a very close friend of mine who I've known since high school, he went to Harvard for his MBA, and just gave me this sort of treat one day when we were talking. And he said, you should go where the government money is located, find that money, and that's where you focus. And I did. And so in California, as an example, our California government pays
Right.
and offers voucher money to parents who enroll their children in accredited homeschools. And I had this weird kind of
Yeah.
antiquated perception of what homeschool was about.
Right.
I was very misguided because now I see so much success come out of homeschool, and it's a growing entity. I don't know if your audience is aware, but 10% of Californians now educate their children through homeschool. And we're the leading state for homeschool.
Wow. Now, is that who teaches the parent how to teach their children, or are their children learning from home via online?
Well, we really focus on in-person tutoring. So we go to the students' homes and parents hire us through their school. We're on school vendor lists. Right now, I think we have 56 schools in California.
Wow.
And so parents find us through their vendor list and they choose us. A lot of teachers recommend us, which has been a real key to our growth. And other parents, parents talk to other parents. So referrals have been a huge part of our growth. And, when a parent is happy with their tutor, they tell other parents, and that they sort of, some of our tutors are kind of like rock stars in education, and parents will say, and we want the same tutor they have. And so it really, it elevates our tutors, and we build their profile, and really, we have like a tutor of the month highlight on our website as well. So we really like to make sure they're spotlighted for doing a great job too.
And how far out are you, like cross country now, or just in California?
Yes, we are in other countries. Florida is just opening as a big state for us. Their state government is now giving $3 billion, that's with a B as in boy, $1 billion a year to students. And schools can't access this money. It's strictly for parents and their students.
Wow. So that really opens up the opportunity for children to be able to get extra help in their studies at school through the private tutoring, other than just the classroom environment, and really sets them up for success in life.
Exactly. And, we find that students who are tutored do at least a minimum of 30% better, if not 70% better. So many students who have fallen behind, and they're not even at grade level in English language arts or math, that 1 year of tutoring can bring them up to grade level and teach them good study skills, because they're just not taught these skills.
Right. Because in regular school, it's like just go, keep with the curriculum. And if somebody falls behind, they just got to keep going, right?
Well, it's not that teachers are bad. It's not that schools are bad. It's our system, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think teachers are trying so hard. The majority of teachers are excellent, and they really try hard. But when you have a classroom of 30 students and they all learn differently, we all have our own strengths in learning.
Right.
Different styles of learning. So we do our best to add sensory integration into the learning with every tutoring hour that we give. And we try to find student strengths. Here's an example of what we do. If a student is struggling in reading comprehension, doesn't matter what grade level, they could be first grade, they could be sixth grade, 12th grade.
Right.
So all we do is introduce them to new ways to learn. So whatever the pages that they're reading, the text, we ask them to read a paragraph aloud with their tutor, and then stop after each short paragraph and give them 5 seconds to draw a stick figure of anything they remember. It could be science, it could be social studies, whatever they're reading.
Right.
5 seconds, and then keep reading, drawing, reading, drawing. They end up with a comic strip, and kids giggle, they laugh while they're doing it because they love to draw.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they can piece together some of these ideas. And so what they're using is multisensory integration. So they see the words, they speak the words, they hear the words, and then they visualize it in their brain like a movie in order to draw it with their pen or pencil.
Right.
It really teaches them to become independent learners. So one simple idea like that, but we have thousands of them.
Right. No. That's so helpful for these children to set them up for success and, have the tools that they need for in life. Right. Now, there's, I imagine there's other tutoring programs out there as well. What sets you apart and makes you different?
There's a number of things. There are so many different models of tutoring businesses, many that people see out on the street as they're driving around, Sylvan Learning, Mathnasium, they're all good because kids need help. There's no shortage of students who need help. And so the difference is they have their own curriculum that they teach from. They run an assessment on a student. So if a student doesn't take tests well, they're going to score low on that assessment. And then they start at a certain level and they work through that specific curriculum. The parents have to take them to that location as well. And then the student still has to do their homework or their assigned work after they leave that tutoring center. We, on the other hand, we use the student's chosen curriculum and we work through it. And many teachers will send specific work home to reinforce what they learn in class because they know they have a tutor waiting at home. And so we work in tandem with the teachers, kind of like a little village, helping each student reach their highest potential.
Wow, that's amazing. Yes. Like you said, I think they all help and everybody has a different way. And it's just about what the students will gravitate to and be successful doing. Now, what comes easy to you that might be more difficult to others in your business?
Wow.
Talent, a skill.
Different. I think for me, ideas come very easily. Education ideas. That's my gift. I don't know where it comes from. Well, maybe it comes from my dad. In fact, I wrote my father's memoir called Education Warrior. We can talk about it in a couple of minutes too. But my father was an illustrious, world-known educator. And I'll go into his story a little bit later. But I just love the idea of creating new ideas in education. So it could be hard for other people. And I've talked to actual teachers who've retired and sometimes they just know if they take if the curriculum is in front of them, they can teach from that worksheet or teach from the teacher's manual, but they don't know how to necessarily relate the curriculum differently if a student is struggling to understand it and take it in. So that's one of my gifts. But that's something we teach to our tutors as well.
That's awesome. But now let's talk about the book that you wrote and about your father a little bit. Tell us what inspired you to write the book and what you want everybody to read and get out of it.
Yes, I hope everyone picks up a copy of Education Warrior. It's on Amazon. And my father, Morris Cutler, if you Google him, you won't even find him because he retired so young in his early 50s. But he was a real pioneer in education in the 1950s, 1960s, and 70s here in California. He developed the first early childhood education program for the state of California. And then his work was adopted throughout the whole state and also other states across the country. And then his reputation kind of got spread. He was approached by our U.S. aid program. It's through the State Department to create the royal curriculum in the country of Afghanistan. So in 1973, we literally moved from, I grew up as a valley girl in California.
Yeah.
And I moved to Kabul, Afghanistan, and it was peaceful. I loved it there. My whole family enjoyed it. It was a great experience. And my father literally created the royal curriculum. Prior to that, the country had no formal textbooks. Students were learning to read and write through the Quran. You know, and
Yeah.
that's what they were taught, is to memorize. They were not taught to think and create and discover on their own. They were not allowed to.
Right.
And so my father, believe it or not, part of the book is about how his work has lived on, and people smuggled the books across the border during the Soviet Revolution there, and then the Taliban invasion and everything else that's gone on since then. And we all know the history there, but people are still using the books, and different terrorist tribes are still using the books today. Girls are not allowed to go to school past 6th grade, but that's a whole nother issue. And my father's last position with the State Department was in Nairobi, Kenya, where he created a whole learning program to teach reading and the English language to tribes in the bush. So it was all done through radio.
Wow.
I know. It's just so different.
That is amazing and impressive, and what a legacy to leave behind, right? Your books and your educational systems for the world to utilize and work from there.
Yeah, so he's definitely a big inspiration for me.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So if somebody was in the business and they want to get better at what they do, and they watch this interview, what could you tell them, tips that you can give them to improve? Maybe it could be a parent trying to learn how to or find some way to help their children get better education and get help, or maybe a tutor that's already tutoring and wants to provide better services to the children.
Yes, well, we're called Firefly Tutors, and like I said, we've been in business 20 years. We know what we're doing. And we also provide intervention programs to schools, where they have hundreds of students who are not at grade level proficiency. I would say just, reach out to ask questions, get help. And as far as, if somebody is looking at any kind of business, honestly, I believe to continue learning, that is the key. I know that's been the key for me, because I didn't have a business background per se. I never studied business. I didn't have an MBA. Maybe you don't either, and many of your listeners don't. But I just know that we are a direct result of who we associate with, books we read, conferences we attend, and the podcasts and people we listen to. And so I like to surround myself with people who are like-minded and have good, strong values and believe in giving back and paying it forward and making a difference in this world. That's how I was raised, is whatever we do in life, it should help others, and we should be contributing to the betterment of society. Right.
Totally agree with you, and being able to do that and leaving something behind. Now, what was or has been one of your biggest challenges in creating what you've created?
I've gone through a lot of growing pains. I think that's been the hardest part. And what I mean by that is, as things scale up during a school year when it's really, really busy, and then all of a sudden I realize, oh my gosh, I need to hire another education consultant to handle more leads. It takes literally 2 months to train someone to be fully independent. So then I have to take time out of my busy day, which is business development now.
Right.
And I have to then train that new individual. But I've realized over time, because I've done it enough times, that it creating that system, and now we have a lot of it templated. so that they can learn a lot on their own independently. And I have my existing education consultants train others as well once they get the basics down. And so we're a team helping each other. And we're much stronger this way. And I've also learned to hire, I found a recruiter in the Philippines. And so to do some of the back end work, we now hire a couple people who live in the Philippines, and they're like magic elves who work through the night. You know, when we get literally hundreds of purchase orders a week, and they have to be attached to the right students' accounts and things like that.
Right.
And so they are like magic elves who just, make sure everything's done correctly, and they're well trained. I think that's the main thing. And the other thing is, we don't shame anyone who makes a mistake in our company. Those of us who do what we do at Firefly Tutors, we want to make sure that our students' needs are met, the parents' needs are met, the school's needs are met. They're our clients. But on the back end, we all make mistakes now. We strive for excellence, but it happens. And so we talk it through so it doesn't happen again. And we find a new process, or we find a better way that we can communicate better, or just make sure we don't have this happen again.
Right. Yeah. We all make mistakes. Like you said, sometimes, we need a little bit more training, or sometimes we have to change the policies and procedures a little bit, so it doesn't, make a checklist or anything, right? Whatever tools we have to use to be able to create that safety net. And even so, you do that, we're still human, right? All of us make mistakes. And so we just fix them. That's kind of how it goes. Well, it looks like you're doing a wonderful job with your business, and you've had much success in being able to help the children. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, Danny.
Business owners such as yourself sometimes look for additional ways to generate passive income. And so what are your thoughts on that?
Passive income?
Passive income, potentially to help position yourself for retirement or additional income, that kind of, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's so important. And I am gearing up for retirement. And I love what I do, but I'm definitely phasing out and, cutting back on my hours, because I do have a great team and I can rely on them. I've been traveling more. I've been taking more international trips where I don't have to be plugged in every day, and I can just let my team handle it. And I might check in with them once or twice during a couple of weeks when I'm gone. But, like in June, I went to the Andes Mountains in Peru and climbed Cusco and Machu Picchu, and just some amazing trips. And we've got more planned. I'm headed to Maui for Christmas week. And so I'm really starting to just lighten my load. And it feels so good to know that my team is so put together. And I think it's taken a lot of time to really choose and train and have confidence that they're going to do the right things.
Right. That's so awesome. One of my favorite books I like to read a lot, it's called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
I'm aware of that. I haven't read it. Yes.
You should read it, because you're basically a product of what he talks about. In being able to build your business, but being able to hire people. You hire people to get your time back.
Yes.
Right? So they come in and they take that task or that group of tasks away from you. And then you hire somebody else to take the other group of tasks away from you. And all of a sudden you get this extra time, right? And you're giving people the responsibility, and you're building processes and procedures so that they can be successful in what they're doing. You, without reading that book, you actually did exactly what he says. And that's very cool. You should, if you get a chance, read it or use the audiobook or whatever, and you're going to love that book.
Wonderful. I'm a big reader, just like you are. I'm always reading and listening for more ideas, fresh ideas, and how I can utilize them, not just in business, but in my personal life as well.
Right. Exactly. So as we wrap up our interview, what does 2025 look like for you?
We have some audacious goals. We're already on track to reach 40% above last school year. We track it in school years. We're right in the middle of our school year now. And yet our audacious goal is, or we call it our stretch goal, is to double our business this school year. So
double. That's a big feat right there.
It is. We're working hard. We're moving fast.
That is awesome. Well, Diane, thanks so much for joining us on the interview. If somebody out there that's listening to us would want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Our website, fireflytutors.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much once again for joining us.
Thank you, Danny. My hat's off to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.